our leadership coach. Hello, Lucy.
Hi, Dominic. Nice to see you.
Good to see you again. We were here, what was it, a week or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago. Yeah,
Two
2 weeks
weeks
ago.
ago, right? And for those of you who don't know who Lucy is, well, first of all, she's in Brisbane, Australia. I'm here in Chicago. She's our leadership coach. She works with organizations, and yeah, tell us a little bit about what you're doing here.
Yeah, so I'm mainly working with individuals in their own personal leadership and also positions depending on in where they're at in life and around certain challenges or goals they might have around their leadership and their professional life. And I coach one-on-one. That's mainly what I do, and run some workshops also.
Okay, but you have also worked with corporations, yes?
Yeah, so that's I've worked with corporations, and we run leadership workshops here in Brisbane, online and face to face this year. That has been a big thing, moving to online, and as part we give the participants some tools and knowledge around leadership, but also support them in their own reflection and the awareness they need so that they can move forward and start changing some things in their life.
That's great. You're doing work that I've done in the past. I'm not currently doing the work in the corporations. I miss it so much. I can't wait for things to like settle out with this whole, when we know the vaccines are here and we're moving forward.
Yeah.
So, no, we're moving forward.
We
I went
are.
like this. I caught myself because I can see myself on the screen. I have to stay in alignment with my
Coherence, exactly.
That's right, exactly. So, for those of you who are just joining us, this show is called Why It's Important. And today's topic is about the importance of vulnerability in leadership. And this is the third in a series of three that is leading to a workshop that Lucy is going to be presenting to us on January 20th. So, yeah. So we will have a listing in the Self-Achievement Network Marketplace shortly where we can then share that link and people can go and get their tickets, sign up, join us. It's going to be a wonderful workshop. The first topic that we discussed, I can't remember how many weeks ago, but yeah.
Probably a month ago or something, yeah.
Okay, it was a month ago. That first topic was?
Responsibility.
Yes. Second one was?
Authenticity.
Authenticity. And this one is about vulnerability. All wrapped around leadership, which is a super important topic. And it's not just a topic, it is a way of being. Yes.
Yeah, so that's great that you say that, because that's the perspective I bring. I'm an ontological coach, so I coach people's way of being. So yes, you work on the behaviors and the actions, but you coach the person and how they see the world, and given how they see the world, what possibilities are available and which aren't, because they can't see them. And I've got this profiling tool that's really awesome to work with, because it gives you an idea of people's ways of being and how they relate to different ways of being. And what we'll read and talk about today, I'll read you the definition of vulnerability on the profile, and that's what we've been doing in the last conversations, because it talks about our relationship and the health of our relationships through these different ways of being, and how that impacts our effectiveness in life, in work, as leaders.
He makes a huge impact. When I was in my younger years, and I can say now I have practiced leadership skills primarily right here.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, it was like, one of these days I'm going to be a really impactful leader, with absolutely no idea what I was talking about. So I was more like the guy that was talk the talk and not walk the walk?
Well, I would challenge that, Dominic, because in what aspect of your life? So when we talk about leadership, it's so easy to put it in a box and think it has to do with the position that you hold. And the challenge is that in all aspects of our life, leadership is critical. How we lead ourselves and how we lead others around you, from your kids, your relationships. Leadership is everywhere.
It is. And I always fall back on and help me to understand if this is the right way or wrong way. Maybe it's neither one, but I always think about being the example for the people around me and using that as my guide. Like, okay, the little voice that's always spinning around there, like, okay, Dominic, if you do that and somebody sees you or watches you or observe you or has a perception of you, they're going to have a perception regardless. Is that the right perception that you want to create for those people around you? And so then that's usually like either my red light or my green light.
Yeah. Yeah. And does it feel true to you? Does it feel okay for you?
Yeah, and there's a million and one examples. So this profile that you use has a definition again, right?
Yeah. So let me read you what vulnerability is. So in the profile, we've got 4 moods or drivers. What that means is that these moods or drivers will how they allow us to move forward and make decisions and take action when these moods are present. Okay, so when vulnerability is present, depending on the health of your relationship with it, it will mean that you can take action and move forward even if vulnerability is present, for example. Or will it stop you, and would you avoid, will you hide? So when we read it, that's, keep that in mind. So the vulnerability driver is impacted by the concerns you have with respect to how others may respond to you in different situations. Vulnerability is how we feel when confronted or exposed to perceived threats, ridicules, attacks, or harm of both emotional and physical natures. A high score indicates that in general you are open, truthful, and willing to express yourself to others, regardless as to what they may think of you or the prevailing circumstances. A lower score indicates that you are likely to defer or avoid taking actions or decisions, especially if you think they may negatively impact your reputation. You may also avoid situations where you could expose yourself to ridicule or potentially look foolish or silly.
Mm-hmm.
So vulnerability is something that happens to us all the time. It's part of being human being, and you can measure it in your body. You can know when vulnerability is present because it will shake you. It will make your heart beat faster. So what
Yeah.
your relationship to that feeling when it shows up, that's what's going to make the difference. So
Mm-hmm.
will you be taken aback, or will you take action even when those situations are present? And the impact that will have in the results that you get and how you move forward in your life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's explore the question. So why is it important? Why is vulnerability important in leadership?
I can think of so many things, but I'll go with some. One, that vulnerability is key in relationships. How you build relationships with others and the ability to open up and be vulnerable with others is critical for them to trust you, to approach you. So if you've got, for example, if you're in a positional leadership space where you have a team that reports to you, if you show, whenever you think that you might be exposed to ridicule or look silly, you shut yourself up and you move away, and what's the image that you will give your team? That will say no one that doesn't have it all sorted can come and have a conversation or talk to me about things that they don't have sorted, because you need to have it all sorted before you show up. So vulnerability is key, so others perceive you as someone that is okay with not having all the answers, okay with saying I don't know, and that they can see that vulnerability in you so that they can bring it in also. And from that, it sense how key it is for innovation and creativity. So if you think of a team that needs to come up with solutions, innovation, bring new ideas, if you have no vulnerability as part of the culture, it's not accepted, then how would you put a new idea forward? You wouldn't, probably. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of situations that I've been in. I mean, certainly I've had many teams in my time. And what I'm thinking about is that from what you were saying, it's like, am I ever really going to have my stuff together 100% of the time? And I think that that's not true. There's no way. I think that where the vulnerability part comes in for me is that as long as the people that I'm that are that are on my team understand that I'm never going to have my act together, and I'm going to work really hard, and that I show that effort, then even though something may show up, they always, I think, I mean, you hear, oh, you exposed your ass or something, like something came up and, you didn't have that worked out, or you didn't think it out or whatever. And I'm saying that in the third person, but I mean, for myself, that instead of trying to cover it up and like you said, to avoid, like, make believe that I really have my act together, is the opposite of what I should do. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, it's even if that vulnerability is present, that you can move forward, you can have the conversation, you can fix it, you can be open and willing to express yourself, so it won't shut you up.
Okay.
And then when you know that Brené Brown, we were talking about her before, how she speaks about vulnerability and the work that she's done around it. If anyone on the live has not heard of her, just go and watch her YouTube, her, what is it, her TED Talk, and then she's got a Netflix special also.
Yeah.
To really understand where she's coming from, because vulnerability goes hand in hand with courage. So the courage to keep showing up, to keep moving forward, even though it's uncertain, you might not know how it's going to impact your reputation, and you keep moving forward, is critical. And I think I've got a quote of hers here. About what we were talking about before. It's, if you have no vulnerability, there's no creativity. No tolerance for failure, there's no innovation. It is that simple. If you're not willing to fail, you can't innovate. If you're not willing to build a vulnerable culture, you can't create. So how critical is that in the world that we are living right now?
Yeah.
With this VUCA world and all the changes, if you do not create cultures where vulnerability is accepted and people can have a healthy relationship to that vulnerability, you will have teams that are stuck, that can't create, and that won't show all the potential that they'll have. And also, one of the other things why it's critical in leadership is because it's key to assertiveness. Because if you think, in order to be assertive, you need to be vulnerable. So to speak your truth, to be firm and straight, you need to be vulnerable, because you need to show yourself, and you need to connect with that emotional side of you that's playing its part for you to be assertive.
So if I'm avoiding being vulnerable, does that mean that I'm insecure?
If you're avoiding, I think there will be, I think we're all insecure to a certain point. It's how we deal with that insecurity. Like we all have that voice inside us that says that we make mistakes, that we don't know enough, that we don't have it all sorted, because we're humans. So it's part of who we are as humans, is that we are insecure because we don't have all the answers. But
Mm-hmm.
to have a healthy relationship with vulnerability means that you can move forward even though you have all those things going in your head.
Yeah.
And so that's why we've been talking about in these last calls about awareness, how it's critical for all of these ways of being, responsibility, authenticity, vulnerabilities, to become aware of how it plays up. How does it show up for you? So what are the stories that come up for you when you're feeling vulnerable? Is it that you're not enough? Is it that all these insecurity conversation, you're not enough, you're stupid, whatever it might be, that will stop you from moving forward and saying what you need to say? So being assertive or bringing in a new idea that you don't know how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think for me, what I always think about, and what I've learned, and then what I've taught to people is that. So, for example, in my personal life, so I know that I need to take care of my body. We all know that. That's like the number one responsibility that we have on the planet, which is to take care of this container, whatever you want to call it, this amazing body, right?
Yeah.
And when I don't treat that, oops, sorry, when I don't treat this environment that I have here with integrity, then I feel out of alignment with like that part of who I am, that my responsibility that I have. And then when somebody mentions something like, well, I thought you were exercising, then I kind of feel vulnerable and then insecure, whatever you want to, call that. And and I always think about, well, okay, so there's all these different things that I need to maintain: my relationship with my wife, my relationships with my family members, my kids, keeping my money handled, making sure that bills are paid,
Yeah.
maintenance on the house. There's all these things. Now, if I was like sitting on the couch every day, doing nothing or barely anything, versus if I was really striving to keep all the responsibilities that I've taken on in my life, like to a certain level, my vulnerability, I'm not going to be like, I'm not so concerned about that because I know that I'm striving, I'm pushing myself.
Yeah.
But when I start to become a slacker, then it's like if anybody says anything about anything, I'm always like,
Yeah. So that for me is a responsibility conversation that you've just brought up. Is when you're when the responsibility and the shame. So when you're not doing what you've committed to doing and what you are responsible for doing, what's the conversation that comes up for you? Because I hear shame there, sort of, I'm not responsible, I'm not this, or I'm a slacker, instead of there's things I haven't done that I said I was going to do, but it doesn't put, you're not on the line, you're not at stake there. It's not that you're a slacker, like a statement that would be shame. What would move you forward is these things I said I was going to do, and I'm going to take action, move forward with them.
yeah,
Because when you go into the I'm a slacker, then you're in shame, and then that comes up.
right. The defense, the monster comes out.
Yeah, yeah. You need to protect yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to what you're saying about it, and I don't know. I mean, I think that so what's the, well, we're going to talk about the what's the, or the why, the not the why, but the how to in the workshop.
Yeah. Because I think if you were to take something away from this conversation is vulnerability is always there. It's your relationship to it that's going to make the difference. So start understanding what makes you vulnerable, how it shows up for you, and then what are the things that it's stopping you from being and doing when you're in that vulnerable space.
Mm-hmm.
And then go and watch Brené Brown and make the connection she makes around shame, courage, and how all that connects with vulnerability, because she's absolutely awesome. There's so much there.
Yeah.
And the first step is always awareness. Start understanding how it shows up for you and what your relationship is to it.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. And I'm glad that you said that, because the awareness is kind of like, if you're not aware of it, then if I'm not aware of it, then there's nothing that I could do about it. And if I don't have the interest in being aware, you know, and I always like to say curiosity is because the thing, it's all about curiosity. When we were little kids, we were curious about everything. Now you look at some of these adults, and I went through my phases, they could care less. All they want to do is drink beer and whatever. But that's okay. I mean, it's not a judgment. It's just there's consequences to it.
That's exactly. There's no good or bad in this. It's just the fact that what are you missing out on? What's the cost it's having for you not to understand how vulnerability works for you?
Yeah. So we can either, as individuals, explore it, or we can just, I don't need to listen to that.
Yeah.
Quality of life. Anyway, wow, great discussion. I'm excited for the 20th, and I will be putting that together up in the marketplace, and I will send you back and forth. We can send back and forth to make sure. Oops. We lost her. She's going to come back. So yeah, I'm going to put that up in the marketplace, and I'll go back and forth with a couple of drafts with Lucy, and to make sure that it's all correct, so that she's very happy with it. And then we will do a little quick, announcement to talk about the workshop, right? The leadership workshop, and some of the key points that she is going to be discussing in there. So with that, I'm going to hope here that she comes back on, so that we can actually say our official bye-bye to everyone for watching. We're at 22, 23 minutes right now. I don't know where you are. What happened? Did your computer? Oh no, the technology. But it's okay. She left us. I'm going to sign off. Thank you all for watching. We really appreciate your support, your willingness to participate from all of us here in the Self-Achievement Network. Remember to have fun, stay inspired. We'll talk to you guys real soon. Take care for now. Bye-bye.